2019's Metallica. With 9 Grammy Awards and 14 nominations, 38 concert tours worldwide, and 11 studio albums that span 4 decades, the Titans of Thrash remain the standard by which all other metal is measured. We begin with a 1984 classic from their second album, For Whom the Bell Tolls, followed by the 1992 tour anthem, Wherever I May Roam. And then, let's turn down the house and light up the stage for the Auburn University Marching Band and their show, Metallica.
It has arrived once again. It is Sunday evening, and that means it's time for another live recording of the Auburn Experience podcast, episode 124 coming your way. We, of course, got all the Auburn news and Auburn potpourri that we'll be discussing, 2 main topics for you, and plenty of shenanigans and other things to get into for Austin and myself. Let's get into episode 124 right now. David Housel described it best. We are living the whole of the Auburn experience. You can quantify it, you can qualify it through a variety of methods, time, people, places, and things. But at its heart, at its core, the Auburn experience is all about Auburn culture, Auburn sports. I did it backwards. Auburn sports, Auburn culture, Auburn family stuff. Easier way to say it is if it's orange and blue, it's what we do. Thank you so much for joining us in what we're going to do today on episode 124. As always, I'm your host, Kyle Loomis, alongside me, my good friend and yours, Mr. Austin Scott. War Eagle Austin, and welcome back.
War Eagle Kyle, War Eagle all of you listening and watching. Hope everyone's doing well. And hey, it doesn't matter which order you put it. Sports, culture, family, family, culture, sports, culture, family, sports. It's just,
wow.
It's all the Auburn experience.
I'm oddly impressed that you able to pull that slogan together 3 different ways and really fast. It's almost like you've done this for what, 124 episodes? You would think at some point I guess the opening host would get it down and not mess it up as much. You seem like you have a better grasp on things. So you know what? From now on, you just run this show and I'll
Oh boy. Nobody needs that. We won't make it to episode 125.
I don't know. You probably could do just as well as I could some days, especially over the last several weeks. But either way, we're both here. We're ready to roll. As always, plenty of Auburn things to discuss today. We're going to have some fun topics and main topics for you tonight. And obviously, we got a bunch of other Auburn news to get to. In Auburn potpourri, and I told Austin this to start off episode 124. I'm going to surprise him a little bit.
I'm scared.
One thing that Austin and I love a lot is to go find some Auburn things out there in maybe thrift stores, other areas. I found a little special something today. Like literally, this afternoon. We're recording on a Sunday evening. I found it up here in Northwest Georgia. Let me preface this. There's a lot of Auburn people up this way. So if you know about the area, you wouldn't be surprised at that. So I guess I shouldn't be shocked that I would find it something Auburn, but just something really unique Auburn. And I can't tell what it is. So we're going to take a look at it here. For those of you in the audio format only, I'm sorry. You can come to that and see it. We'll share it out on social media later this week. But my little prop that I have for you, let me find it here. And I thought I had it ready to go. I do. And here we go. Check this out. From not a thrift store, but from Goodwill. This is an actual framed picture of an Auburn team with this anonymous, I guess you'd say, poem, ode to Auburn. I'll try to read it briefly here. Auburn, we are you now and ever. I had to get in closer here. Dressed in autumn's orange and blue, we come forth with heads high and eagle proud to do battle in that place where manhood's only measure is gauged by strength of heart. We toil for more than victory. Spurred by fall's refrain, we fight to save the echoes of the glory on the plain. I mean, come on, folks.
That's pretty cool. I couldn't tell you what in the world that is, except that, based on, we're going to do some context clues, breaking down of some literature here on the Auburn experience. I'm going to guess with fall and autumn mentioned. I'm going to say it's a football team, right? I'm going to say that's a team photo. But Man, that's really cool looking. All I know is for sure is that I need one of those shirts they're wearing.
I know.
think I
Isn't that
need one of
interesting?
those. Yeah.
Isn't that real interesting? And you got the guy in the middle with the little collar thing on too.
Yeah. And I guess the coach behind him, right?
Yeah. So I literally just found this today. I haven't had a chance to do digging in it. So maybe you guys that are viewing this live or the replay can do even more digging for us to figure out what it is. But there's a Roman numeral down there below the Auburn University wording. And I believe Jessica did her research and said it's like 1870 something, if that's correct. And I think Auburn's first football team was in the 1880. I don't know. I could be wrong on that. Something.
Okay.
So we could be looking at a football photo here. I don't know. That's my find
really interesting
from the Goodwill. Did you have, listen, I've seen shirts, you find that kind of stuff all the time, but this portrait for $9 at Goodwill, it's sitting right here in the floor right now. I got to find somewhere to put it up in here. So
how big is it?
It's wider than me. And I know that's pretty wide right now. I need to lose a few LBs, but so I don't know.
No, that's pretty neat. I've never seen anything like that. I've definitely never heard that, poem or saying.
Yeah.
That's a pretty cool find right there, though.
So there you go. Show and tell time. Show and tell at lunch. For those of you that get that reference, you're good people. There you go. Just wanted to open up the show with a little bit of an Auburn find to get us kicked off tonight. Let's do this first, and then we'll come back to acknowledge, obviously, the big momentous thing that happened for all of Auburndom, the students and graduation, that type of stuff. But let's talk about baseball and softball, since we're not going to spend a whole segment talking about them. It has been the big stories this week. Starting with softball, obviously the week began not so great. They got to play in the SEC tournament in the first year in the coach's Malvo, and got to play Alabama for the first time. We did lose 2-3, although it was pretty competitive for their first crack at Alabama, and had a shot at the end there to continue on and follow that path that we laid out for y'all in last week's episode. But that's not what we want to focus on here. In your very first season for softball, led by Coach Chris and Kate Malvo, the coach's Malvo, we are going to the NCAA tournament. And I don't think this is probably a shock, Austin, that we're here. Auburn's had the quality within its program outside of coaches, I think, to maintain some reasonability to reach this point. But year one, having been through some of the SEC conference struggles that they have, this is a nice, I want to say surprise. It's just a confirmation that maybe we are getting things stabilized and heading in the right direction.
Yeah, well, we talked about, if you go back to the early episodes of the softball season, we talked about how well this team had done in non-conference, playing some big-time opponents, but also staging some comebacks, racking up some wins that kind of helped the way this would go. We knew softball in the SEC would be a struggle. It is for most teams, and the competition you play week in and week out is just brutal. So, I'm not super surprised, like you said, because we saw the success in the non-conference season that's going to help in the eyes of a committee when you look at the SEC. And then they go through the SEC, certainly struggled, had some momentum going into the tournament, and then we're one and done. But I think the biggest thing of all is this is a team that's going to finishes last in the SEC, but it ends up being a 2 seed in a regional.
That's wild.
It's pretty wild.
That's wild.
and speaks to the depth of the SEC and the league that they're in. I think that certainly helped them. I think the momentum here on the back half helped them as well. But a 2 seed when you were the last team in your conference, that's probably never been heard of. So, but look, they're going back to a familiar place in Tallahassee, and we'll look to make some more noise.
At least it ain't Clemson. Can we just all agree on that?
Praise the Lord.
Jeez. I just knew when that – I was thankful to see we got into the tournament, but I just knew what the next line was going to be. And the Clemson Regional. Thankfully, it's not. But it has to be one of the two, I feel like,
one
these days. We go to Clemson, Florida State. It's just so much – there's connective tissue there amongst a lot of sports, and with good reason. I don't resent that in any way. But your Tigers are there, as you said, as a 2 seed, which I think is a little bit – it's not shocking. I don't want to sit here and disparage the efforts that have been made this year, but I think struggles in the SEC first year, there's laying a new foundation, but playing 5 seed, is that who it is? Yeah.
5 seed overall.
Yeah. 5 seed overall, Florida State. Robert Morris is also in there, Auburn, and then South Florida. So I guess it's Auburn, South Florida pairing, and then Florida State, Robert Morris. So if you go by seeds, Auburn's got a good shot maybe to at least make this interesting and go toe-to-toe with the Seminoles, which I think we'd all be very much interested to watch and see that go down with all of our history. But here we are at the very tiptoeing towards the end of the first year under the coach's Malveaux. But it is not done yet, folks. Tune in this week and let's see how they do. And we'll certainly recap that the next time we get together. We're still getting towards the end of a regular season for baseball, but boy, are the fireworks just not over yet. Austin, how do you feel about, winning with like 5 runs? Is that a good win to you just any day?
That's decent. That's pretty solid, comfortable.
How do you feel about 10? 10's pretty wild. It's pretty like a big day, isn't it?
Big day. I've probably tuned out.
You probably tuned out at that point, which I had at one point. And during this particular game. How's 24 for you?
24, I've wondered what happened and which fraternity bros are playing on the team now.
And can we just go with that alone? Auburn won by 24 in game 1 of this series we're about to talk about this week, Auburn baseball, that is. Can I give you the name, folks, for those of you that were unaware of this? Austin obviously knows what we're talking about here, but they did this versus South Carolina. Now, folks, let me go ahead and preface this. South Carolina clearly is not where they used to be and where they would like to be. I actually heard from several fans on posts we made about that. They're like trying to like salvage their dignity. I'm like, just no. They're like making excuses. You've been given the lumps. You're going to take the lumps now. It's okay. Your Auburn Tigers, my goodness, swept in every facet that you can the South Carolina Gamecocks at home this week, yet again winning another SEC series. They have won every SEC series except Georgia and Texas, who are the top of the SEC right now, which they got swept in. We'll go back and revisit that. How are we feeling, though, Austin, after 3 games? Your Auburn Tigers just dominating for the most part.
It was an absolute bloodbath. It was a chicken feast. It was every feather was plucked from the Gamecocks.
Rotisserie chicken.
I mean, just barbecuing them out there in center field. It was a beatdown, and I think even when you look at it on Saturday being a doubleheader because of crazy weather coming through the town, they just took care of business and didn't think anything twice about it. So obviously, like you said, South Carolina, for those of us that remembered when they were just a national title runner every single season, they're not the same. It's not to the same effect. Certainly have that caliber of a coach in them in his first year with Paul Manieri back in coaching. But my goodness, they just whooped up and down. Everybody on the roster had a great day. The only disappointing aspect of this series is that one of these Auburn players is going to be the only one to win SEC Player of the Week. And it's probably going to be Eric Guevara. And it's unfortunate that Lucas Steele won't get to, Chris Rembert won't get to, because any other week and without their teammates showing them up, they're going to win SEC Player of the Week. So
can I just dominate? Chris Rembert in game 1 was the guy we were talking about. And then Eric Rivera just said, you know what, we're not advocating for this, but hold my beer, I'll take over.
Hold my lemonade.
Hold my lemon and my Tumors lemonade and see what I can do, winning in a suicide squeeze in 11-10 in game 2. And there are plenty of other people that you need to congratulate there. I think the pitching on game 3 really, after the first 2 innings, really settled in. They win 11-3. So that's your games right there. 24-2, 11-10, 11-3. Auburn pretty much dominates the whole game, and they were in very much a comfortable position in game 2. They let them come back. Austin, do you, just to round this out, do you take a lot away from this weekend, or is this really just South Carolina's that bad?
No, because I think everything we've said before about the SEC still stands here when you talk about whether it's the top or the bottom of the league. But you don't want to see South Carolina come in to town and it also be senior day, and it also be graduation weekend and all this, and have a letdown moment and say, we'll coast through this last weekend at home. And so this is good. They still dominated. I think they know that they have their sights set on hosting a regional, being a top 8 national seed, and going into Hoover and making some noise as well. So No, definitely still an incredible weekend and a productive weekend, but there's certainly things higher on the horizon, but good to take care of here and now.
Yeah, absolutely. What a great second to last weekend in the regular season. One more to go, folks. We'll certainly be talking about that more next week, too. Switching from sports for just a second here, we acknowledged this last show that we were heading towards a very important day for those of you that are blessed to be part of the Auburn alumni family, which which Austin and I are proud to be a part of as alumni. Graduation has come and gone this weekend. All the new doctorates and masterates and undergrads have received their diplomas, and we have extended that smaller unit within the Auburn family, because everybody in the Auburn family, no matter your experience, whether you were here or not, is important. But this is a special celebration. We got to see all the pictures again. You know, Abby being up on stage celebrating and wishing all the graduates well. This always sends the big feels for me and sends me back into my reminiscing of this time of year. Where was I when this time frame, at least, because it's never the same day, was happening for you? So I would imagine you're probably not as like soft as me on this, but it's always, it probably brings up something similar for you too.
Yeah, going to Auburn University is a top 5 decision of my life. I will never not think that. I still live here, so I'm happy to still be a part of it in every way. And just congratulations to all those who get to join that alumni family.
Yes, absolutely. We are so proud of all of you. Welcome, whether it is your first degree, your second, third, doctorate, whatever you're getting from Auburn University. You made the best choice of your life by coming to Auburn, by going to school there, and go out and make us proud. And you may be the next Octavia Spencer. You may be the next Tim Cook. You may be the next Bo Jackson. You know, who knows where you will be in the Auburn legend, but it started here. And this is probably a little sappy, but I'm going to read this. Since we got started in this section, reading things, let me go ahead and do this. The alma mater. So everybody, hands over your hearts and all that kind of stuff. On the rolling plains of Dixie, neath the sun-kissed sky, proudly stands our alma mater, banners high. To thy name we'll sing thy praise from hearts that love so true, and pledge to thee our loyalty the ages through. We hail thee, Auburn, and we vow to work for thy just fame, and hold in memory as we do now thy cherished name. Yes, I can do that from memory, but I wanted to make sure that I didn't mess it up. So there you go. That's the alma mater. All right. Unfortunately, we spent a lot of time talking about other things, and there was one major topic that I wanted us to hit. We're not going to have time, but I'm going to do it rapid fire here. Lots of awards this week for Auburn men's golf as they get it fully into postseason play for them. Player of the Year repeat, Jackson Coyven. Coach of the Year repeat, Nick Kleinard. Those are back-to-back for both of those guys. First team All-SEC for Jackson Coyven and Brendan Valdez. Second team for Carson Baca, all freshman Billy Davis. Community service team for Ryan Elishman, I think is how you say that. I never can figure out how to pronounce that. Soccer added a new forward from Duquesne with 1 year left of eligibility. And then back to golf, J.M. Butler won his first PGA Tour match championship. What do you call it? The Bupa Championship, Austin?
Bupa.
Something? Okay, whatever it is.
That's what I'm going with. I don't know if that's a company name. I don't know anything. It's just Bupa Championship. And J.M. Butler, we all remember his final putt to give the Auburns a national championship. So good for him for getting his first PGA Tour. That's right.
Could it be an omen? I don't believe in omens, but could it be a sign that things are looking up for the end for this men's golf team? It could. I don't know. Just saying. We'll see how things go. Obviously, they're the reigning champs, and we're wishing them good luck as they begin the march to a potential repeat national championship. That's going to do it for Auburn Potpourri. Let's move it on in to the topic that has been sweeping social media over the last several weeks. Probably we're catching the tail end of it here again now, but that's been the topic of Mount Rushmores. Austin, you and I obviously haven't been the first one to come up with this concept, but we've been doing this for a while of periodically coming together and trying to one day build the ultimate Auburn Mount Rushmore. That's what we're heading to. And we're going to do piecemeal of a bunch of different topics within Auburn sports, Auburn culture, Auburn family stuff. We've already done several in this series. We've done Auburn quarterbacks. We've done academic buildings. We've done basketball guards. You should go check all those out, whether it's on YouTube in the podcast format. If you ever need links for those, let us know. We'll get them to you. But here we are, I guess, our fourth installment. There was an introduction one, but I think it's our fourth one. Am I missing anything that we have done?
No, I saw you put out the links to and pictures of our previous ones. I think you're right. This is our fourth, right?
They're going to get more and more, so it'll be harder to keep track of them. But here we are. We felt it was time to do a baseball one. We are in the middle of baseball season. Well, at the end of baseball season, but still right in the heat of everything here. I thought it'd be fun for us to do the Auburn Mount Rushmore of Auburn pitchers. Now, you can break these down any way you want. Relief pitchers, starting pitchers in baseball, and I think college sports a lot. There's a lot of overlap and people trying to find where they fit into and experimenting from time to time. So I would say this is our best that's why we're just doing pitchers. We're not going to break it down further from that because it's going to get hard to qualify someone truly as a starter or things like that, or a reliever specifically in some areas. This is our opinions that we're going to share, and we obviously want to hear from all of you. That's how we're going to do this. But Austin, to get started on this topic tonight, this feels very similar to the quarterback ones.
Mm-hmm.
And do you agree without even me saying anything further about why I'm saying that?
Well, yes. When Kyle and I talked about our week this week, and he brought this idea up, I think your text to me was, we might have to find a way to, or we might have to dig deep to find the fourth one. And I was like, fourth one? Why did he say that? Why did we look at all four? And I went, well, you count off the top three there pretty quickly.
I'll be honest with you. So once I sent you that text this week when we were discussing it, we tried not to do too much reveal to each other than just coordination. I had a different Mount Rushmore. It's just by one. I've actually altered my thinking after doing some digging, and that's why I like doing these discussions and not just releasing this is my Mount Rushmore, because you've taught me things or pointed things out to me that I missed. I hope I do some for you as well. I've learned by digging into some of the past history, because let's admit, we all have a recency bias in this, and that can play into that. If we didn't live it, they didn't experience it, it's hard for us to recognize the greatness sometimes outside of what is commonly known. So keep that in mind too. And I think this is also fair to remind people too, Austin. This is mainly about what they did while they're at Auburn. However, you can't ignore what else they did post Auburn, maybe even for Auburn, that adds to their. You can't separate, I think, logically. We can say that we're going to do that, but I think you can't do that in your mind sometimes. That's my opinion about how that shakes out for me when I was deciding the thing. So I'm going to give you the floor, Austin, because I am 100% sure who our number one is going to be together. I'm just giving you literally it's not a softball, but a baseball here. So go ahead.
A baseball. My number one was Tim Huddy Hudson. I don't think that there is. I think, and this might be arguable, but I don't think there's anybody you think of with Auburn baseball more so than Tim Hudson.
Right.
Bo played, obviously, we all know that. But I think when I think of Auburn baseball, I think of Tim Hudson, and I think of him getting Auburn in the College World Series. Obviously, the other half of this room, the Braves side of me, obviously remembers Tim Hudson fondly as well. But for our Auburn Mount Rushmore, I think Tim Hudson is Mr. Auburn baseball. And I think that he's more than deserving of one of those four spots.
Right. Obviously, he has also done great work with his philanthropy. I always struggle with that word. Post involved with Auburn and the Tim Hudson. I think it's Tim and Kim Hudson Foundation. I think maybe I have that wrong.
The Hudson Foundation.
The Hudson Foundation. And so that's some great things. He comes back to Auburn all the time, and he even served as an assistant coach for a while, and that was a fun time as well. I remember him back even with the Athletics being part of that incredible pitching staff: Barry Zito, Mark Mulder, Tim Hudson, and how awesome that was. And he was with our Braves, and went off to be with the Giants, and
got a World Series ring.
He got a World Series ring. He didn't get one of the Braves. That's fine. But we had to start with that one. If we didn't put Tim Hudson, nobody would ever listen to us about a Mount Rushmore of pitchers. Any Mount Rushmore, but the first one, Mount Rushmore of pitchers, right here, right now. So I don't think we're going to differ on number 2, Austin. So I will go ahead and throw it right out there. Greg Olson.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I mean, if you talk about Tim, you got to talk about Greg. The great thing is both of these guys are they're recent enough that we're all pretty much aware of them. We even get to hear Greg, I think, broadcasting sometimes on SEC Network. Is he that where he's at now? Doing some of those and doing some Auburn games from time to time. So that's just special. I think sometimes when you get those legends still here, when they're not removing themselves from the game. But if you go look in record books, you're going to find Greg Olson there. I believe he is one of the 4 numbers retired. Huddy, Frank,
Bo,
him, and Bo. Did I get them all there? Yeah, in that list. So is it unfair to say, Austin, if your number's retired, that whatever Mount Rushmore you're going to be in that sport for Auburn, you have to be on there?
I mean, it's kind of a hard case if you don't put them on there, right? Like they saw enough to retire really your number. Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it's really no more difficult than that those two have already had their numbers retired. They find instantly enough to be at the very top of our discussion, but there's not much discussion that needs to be had. I think if I remember correctly, Greg had a pretty decent time in the MLB too. Maybe that differs for people what that means, but Tim and Greg Olson, obviously 2 of the most, if not the most prominent names when it comes to pitching, at least for our generation and those that this recency bias. Here's where I think we're going to get interesting, because I have changed my thinking. And I think you and I were going to 100% agree from this point forward.
I want you to go first.
No, you want me to go first now?
I do. Yeah, I do.
Okay, so which one I want to decide which one I want to do first now, because that's got me. There's one I think that you're going to have, so I'm going to go the route that I don't know that you're going to. And I did some digging on this one.
If I have this one, do you want me to tell you?
Sure.
Okay.
QV Low.
I did not have this one.
Okay, QV Low. So let me explain here. So I think in a good Mount Rushmore, you really have to consider the past a lot. And that doesn't mean that they just automatically get launched up there. If you are, I just think we should honor that in some way. QV Low has a 23-3 record from Auburn with a winning percentage of 0.885 in 2 years at Auburn. If you go look at all the record books, you're going to find him near the top, not at the top at some, a lot in some of the Auburn record books, which, begs the question, what's taking everybody so long to do that? Because this is a guy from, several decades past. He had the record list. I wrote some of these notes down. His record at the time of his career is an ERA of 1.69, most complete games in one season, which was, I believe, actually tied with, I forget who it was, but anyway, tied with whoever that was. But then he has the most, I think, which is 20. No, that's the other guy that I'm thinking of. I'm getting people crisscrossed here. Anyway, he was tied for the most complete games in one season. He helped Auburn get to the 1967 College World Series. And this is some stuff that's beyond Auburn, but I'm going to tie it back to Auburn. He went on to major leagues to be a minor league, I should say, coach and manager. But he came back to Montgomery, Alabama, and established the Auburn University of Montgomery baseball program.
How about that?
And led them to 3 straight their World Series. Never won one, got to second in 1990. Yeah, 1990.
So that's got a little personal for you connection there too.
It does, but folks, Auburn Montgomery is still Auburn. Like their president is our president. That is who signs your diplomas for that. So I know I'm stretching a little bit here, but when I was reading about this, I got to put QV Low on right now, my Mount Rushmore of Auburn pitchers. So that's
fair. That's fair. I think you thought I was going to go with Casey Mize here. Is that correct?
That is who I thought you were going to go with, and that is who QV Low replaced. And we'll talk about why in a second.
That's fair. I think that's fair. I think, like you said, that took some digging deep. I'm still going to go Casey Mize. I think I know that it is kind of blurring the lines between that at Auburn, professional at Auburn, but the first number 1 overall pick from Auburn, I think that speaks a lot.
It does.
Especially when you talk about his kind of trajectory of what Auburn did for him coming out of high school, is not drafted at all, comes through Auburn, has an incredibly successful career, an SEC Player of the Year type career, and goes on to be the first number 1 overall pick, still finding his way with the Detroit Tigers. And it's become a solid rotation piece for them. But I think Casey Mize, and that's definitely, I think I'm not admitting it's not, but Casey and I were at Auburn at the same time. I think that is, I got to see it up hand and close and up front and personal. So I think that has to hold a lot of weight. I'm not saying that shouldn't be considered, but I'm just saying that for me, I got to see that with my own 2 eyes, and I think Casey's one of the best Auburn pitchers we've ever seen. So I've got him on my Mount Rushmore with Huddy and Greg Olson.
He was sitting there, and then I've really tried to broaden my horizons and go beyond my personal recency biases. He is going to be an honorable mention for me. But he is like that honorable mention that could just slip right in there, and I could be convinced otherwise. But for me, QV, you look at those record books, he's all over the place. There's a lot that are still standing, or he's still high up in those lists, and a lot of them. You look at the variety of what he did for the game of baseball, for Auburn baseball while he was here, and for Auburn Montgomery. I just got to have that acknowledged in some way as my kind of off the wall pick. Maybe a little bit for that. It's not off the wall so much. It's just going deep for a spot. I think we're going to agree maybe with number 4. So I'm going to give you the floor for the final one. I think it's somewhat obvious.
Yeah. I have Joe Beckwith.
That is it. Very well. Well done. Well done.
A 4-year letter winner for the Tigers. Just a Auburn man through and through, grew up in town, went to Auburn High School, went through the Auburn career, and then came back after his college or his major league career. But like you mentioned earlier, I think you were reading some of his stats. The program record holder with 20 complete games.
Yep, that was
ranks 3rd in the program in ERA, 4th in wins. 7th in total innings, and was a Triple Crown winner for Auburn in the 77 season. So just so many accolades at Auburn from the mound, and then as well as just so many ties to Auburn, Alabama, and Auburn University, with being from here. And then, if you're familiar with the Beckwith Club, that's his father. So just an Auburn family. I'm not saying that has to count for his Mount Rushmore of Auburn pitchers.
It's hard to ignore it, though.
But it's hard to ignore it when it's an Auburn guy through and through. But his stats certainly speak for itself. Getting the Tigers to a College World Series, and then all of the pitching statistics as well. So yeah, Joe Beckwith is who I have, and it sounds like you have.
That is I think that's technically my number 3. If you want to put them in an order of like how quickly you put them up there. So Tim, Greg, Joe, and then I had QV low. Yeah. But for Joe Beckwith, he's also part of the Alabama Sports Hall of Fame, which another of my honorable mentions, I believe, is as well. And so to me, it's almost like if your number's retired, that already launches you up to that particular category of being considered. I think if you're in the Alabama Sports Hall of Fame, that also should get you a pretty good consideration for being on this Mount Rushmore too. One person didn't make it that's on the Alabama Sports Hall of Fame in my list, and yours too, apparently. But I think that is another one in Joe Beckwith's column. To round out our time, I guess, do you have honorable mentions or anybody that almost made it, or is that most of your guys?
Yeah, a few. I have a few that I looked through and did research on. I saw QV low, definitely. I was really looking and try and find stats and that would let me kind of dig deeper on finding out who certain people were. I think QV low was definitely one of those. There's one I'm totally forgetting that I spent a little bit of time on. But and then others were just honestly personally because of recency. And I think that if we had more time to kind of research it, I think that we would find more. But I think any first round picks is kind of one of those thresholds for me as well. Yeah. With Tanner Burns and Keegan Thompson and guys like that who have done really well under Butch Thompson. But yeah, who else did you have?
You've named a few of them. I'm going to go back to the Alabama Sports Hall of Fame. Scott Sullivan. I think is someone that should probably at least definitely get an honorable mention. Casey Mize was moved down to my honorable mentions. Can't ignore number 1 pick overall. I mean, that just already lost.
Right.
And it's not just that he was the number 1 pick. He was a great pitcher here at Auburn. Certainly he's had to battle some injuries that have made things difficult here at the next level. And hopefully he can continue to turn that story around. Keegan Thompson I had on there. And then if you just want to go off records, because obviously I think that's what most people look to for like halls of fames and things like that. John Powell, Steve Register, and Ryan Holla, they're at the top of a bunch of different categories.
John Powell was my other one. Yep.
Yes. So though we're leaving somebody off there, and I'm sure that we've forgotten someone in recency that, Burke Halter, you probably would be the most recent that we could like kind of throw in as an honorable mention because he was so good as a closer for Auburn or late reliever, whatever you want to categorize him as. And he's working his way up the Braves right now. So maybe we'll be talking about his story being a little bit more down the line. But there you go. There is our attempt for Auburn Mount Rushmore of pitchers, baseball pitchers. We would love to know from you all, who did we miss? Do you agree with us? Who do you agree with more? Tell us. We want to know. I got to know, who are your 4 guys? And let me just clarify this for everybody who continues to miss this. Mount Rushmore means 4. It doesn't mean you get to go with the number 4, this or this. 4 only. Who are your top 4 Auburn pitchers of all time? Let us know, and we'll submit it to
4.
Out there. 4.
It's not my rule. It's not Kyle's rule. It's the guy that I should know from history class who carved the dadgum faces into the rock in South Dakota. It's not our rule. There's 4 presidents on the wall or on the rock. You just got to pick 4. You make hard choices. That's what we got. That's what this is about. It's a fun exercise.
We appreciate those of you.
It blows my mind, Kyle, when you have to respond to people and say, "Well, that's not 4."
I love it. I love it. Love everybody's enthusiasm. And look, the heart of it is like I want these people to get recognized, but that is what it is. We need 4, and 4 alone. Auburn Mount Rushmore pitchers. There's ours. We want to hear from you. Our final main topic tonight, we're going to do a little bit off of some news this week that could have been just part of our potpourri. But we're going to take a little bit more of an expanded approach and discussion on it. And it is football related, but not so much about the game, not so much about practice, but what you, the fans, get involved with this upcoming season for 2025. We've looked at the schedule for over a year now, it feels like. So we already know what's coming. We'll get to previews, record predictions. Some of y'all need to hold your horses on that. We'll get there, folks. But for now, the latest news from the football team. This past week, they released their what to wear, I'm calling it color guide, for you, the fans, and Auburn football. And some of these are just colors. Some of these are patterns they're trying to build. We've talked about this at nauseum, I think, sometimes, and debated. So we're going to do this in 2 parts. We're just going to talk about what you're supposed to be aware of, what you're going to be doing, hopefully, and participating in, and then, what's missing from this list. So I'll do a quick rundown and we'll just talk about it. What to wear for Auburn football 2025. They're asking the fans that attend the football games. For Ball State, you choose. That's different. It's been a while since they just said you choose. For South Alabama, which is also homecoming, wear white. For Georgia, wear Georgia. Why did I do that? Wear orange.
Wear Georgia.
Don't wear Georgia because we're just wiping the floor with them. Missouri, power stripe. Kentucky, navy. Mercer, your choice again. And Alabama, wear navy. So, let's start with what the facts are. We can talk about maybe what's missing in a little bit and what we think about it all. But what sticks out to you most from this color guide, what to wear, Austin, for Auburn football 2025?
Sure. Yeah. Sorry, I'm trying to pull it up because I have terrible memory, and I know you just read it. Okay, I got it. I think the thing that stood out to me the most is that there's fan choices this time around. We could get into the whole reaction of this all we want to about whether your opinions, what the people's opinions are on whether this should happen or not. I think that there's totally a world in which 2 things can be true. And that one is that this is a little overdone and picking a theme every time can be, tiring to some people. And there's also a theme in the world where, hey, it's not that big a deal. And so I think that having some options where it's just like, hey, you wear whatever you want to wear. You wear your favorite jacket, you wear your favorite Auburn polo, you wear whatever you want, and it's going to be a conglomeration of orange and blue. Will look good. I think that is helpful to some people that are just kind of sick and tired of the maybe feeling like they are being forced something on. But I also think it's a good compromise of kind of, hey, some people don't have a lot of orange. Well, maybe you should get some, but at the same time, of just that happy medium. So I think that was a good compromise on the athletic department's part. But there's also some people who just it's not that deep.
It's not that deep on either side, folks. I mean, you don't have to get uppity about it one way or the other. I mean, if you want to participate, and we here are gonna encourage you to participate. And that's the guy. This is the guy right here who doesn't participate because he's always trying to wear the E2C Network gear for you guys to find me, which you do. So that is why I suggest it. And I want you to participate. I'm hoping maybe this year to have some more E2C Network gear that'll help me participate in that. But we'll see about that. I do, if I didn't have those responsibilities, encourage you to try to do that. If it's a big deal to you that you follow us, do it. If it's not, don't worry about others wanting it to be a big deal. You just do you. That's what happens.
You do you. And to piggyback off Kyle's reasoning, I follow it. I remind my wife incessantly to follow it before we go to the games. But it's more just because I don't know. This might come as a shock to some people, but I tend to like lean toward the rule following side of things. And I'm not saying it's rules, but I'm just saying that I don't know. It feels like it's put out there, and people have mentioned that it looks good on TV. And I just like for it to Auburn to be well represented. Now, I'm not saying you're not a rule follower or you want Auburn to look bad.
Yeah.
If you don't follow it, I'm just saying I think I tend to follow that way if it's something that's out there. If they were all fan choice, I think I wouldn't think a thing of it. I wouldn't think, oh, we need to have it. I think it's just one of those things.
I think it's a good thing if you want to talk about, does Auburn listen to fans? And clearly they are listening to fans. If they've given you 2 times, they said, hey, listen, some of y'all don't want to participate. Here's the games where we're not even gonna bother you about it. Now they're the rinky dink games, but listen, that's probably where it's a little bit easier because I think in some of those games too, you're getting more people that use that as their one game of the year, families and such. The first game of the year, Mercer, the last game before the big one, or if it's not Alabama's at our place this year, it's the last one of the season. So I think fan choice twice was a little bit surprising for me. Once I wasn't surprised to see, but listen, there it is for all of you out there. There was some discussion this week about the choices of which colors to go with which team. What do you think about Navy with Kentucky? Is that a little too on the nose, or is that to drown them out? What do you think about that?
Yeah, that's always a fun thing for me to kind of like, I think of. For me, it's similar to Georgia and orange, like the red. Does it kind of match up too well, or is that the point, right? Is it supposed to match up? But I don't know. It doesn't bother me too much. I think both of those are kind of in line to that same line of thinking of the orange will match their red enough in the right lighting. The blue will match the Kentucky blue in the right lighting. Those teams are going to tell their fans to wear something as well. And so it's, it might not even matter if they end up wearing, something different. But to me, the more surprising thing was what I think we're going to get into next is what was kind of left off.
Yeah.
And kind of where some of these things started. I think the stripe, the stadium, and the different, alternating colors was kind of one of the things that ever started all of this of getting fans behind a certain, not just besides wearing one color, I should say, but
that's hard enough.
Yes. And that's no longer on here.
Yeah. I'm interested about that. Before we go into that, the power stripe. And I guess we can use it to kind of segue into both sides of this topic here. Power stripe is the only unique pattern that is kept. We've had stripe the stadium in the past. Last year we had both. For those of you who don't know what the power stripe is, it's the thing on the helmet. And I'll be honest with you, I was shocked that it showed up last year, the power stripe, as well as it did. Some of that college students are excited to be there, maybe not be as excited to coordinate, but boy, they showed out, and you got to give them some props because they were a big part of that power stripe. So obviously there was enough excitement, results around that for them to want to continue that. But it just, to me, it's interesting that if we can pull that off, why not stripe the stadium? Because that at least kind of pops a little bit, you know?
Yeah, I'm with you. I think that honestly, it was probably more the lean toward the fan choice
Sure.
and conceding on that, and letting fan choice be. Hey, we hear you. Here, let's do some games where it's not as big of a deal. I'm with you though. I was shocked that it wasn't Tiger. I was going to say Tiger Stripe. That it
That's what it
wasn't
is.
Stripe the Stadium instead of Power Stripe because of the ease.
Yeah.
You can go back to the episode of the game before, or the episode before we talked about before it was leading up to, like, hey, I don't know if this is going to work, and not because people wouldn't care, but because of the student section's not assigned seating, and it can get difficult. But sure enough, it like you said, and like we said after the fact, it looked great, and I think that probably played a role into it too, of how well it looked. I prefer it. The results at least over the stripe the stadium, because I think it looks better. I think adding white in because of the white stormtrooper uniforms and the white helmet looks so Auburn, that I like the way it turned out, and I'd prefer it over the stripe the stadium, and the upper lower deck. Upper lower deck was just kind of something to try for me. I don't have really an attachment to that.
Yeah, listen, the upper lower deck does feel a little bit easier to pull off because
Sure.
if you're in the upper deck or lower deck, but it doesn't, the upper deck doesn't show on TV. And that's what part of this is about. I mean, it's cool to see it if you're in person, but this is for TV a lot, right? And to show school spirit and team spirit, all that kind of stuff, things that people will get cynical about on social media. Some of y'all just need to get live. But I am interested to see if the Power Stripe has as much enthusiasm this year as it did last year. It was new last year. There was a lot of people doubting that we could pull it off, and we did it too. So maybe it's one of those things that they found that happy medium. They found, give them choice. Don't give them responsibility for a couple of games, especially some of those maybe where people are giving away tickets to families and stuff. They're just trying to get there, right? They don't want to have to coordinate their kids as much as they already feel like they're having to just get everything else in line there. Let's see if this works this year. I probably have a little bit more fondness for striping the stadium if it's done well.
Sure.
Could we just stripe white, orange, and blue, and not just orange and blue? If you like that part in it, like just going around, I don't know, like
you're talking like along the, like almost as if we did every 10 yards, or you're
every
talking
10
about,
yards. Why every section?
You're not talking about the other way where it's like just 3 stripes.
No, well, I just think if you're going to do the regular stripe the stadium, you brought up a great point. Then the Power Stripe, there's a white section, which helps that really pop out. Let's do that maybe in the future if we're going to go back. If you're going to do a complicated one time a year, I think is right where you need to be.
Agreed.
Other than that, wear navy, wear orange, wear white is back. I've been one that's kind of been skeptical about the wear white thing, just because it feels like other people have made that their own. But it doesn't mean that we can't do it too.
It helps with the heat. I think
it
that's
sure
a big winner.
Does.
It never
sure does.
It never needs to be after September. If it ever gets moved after September, I don't think it's gonna. Yeah, it's gonna be a no-go.
The charge. We'll be heading over to the president's mansion. Please change it now.
I do think it's a little. Let me make sure before I say this. Yeah, I do think it's a little strange to have wear white on homecoming.
It feels weird. It does.
It's going to feel weird. And I think it's still definitely for heat. I get the first game. Hey, you're coming back. Come on back. Wear your favorite. But yeah, it's a little bit weird. But we'll see. I think I'm with you 100% on if we're going to go all out on doing one thing, like one crazy design, let's do one. And then the rest. What's your number one favorite on this list of what you can't wait to be at, what you can't wait to see? And it's okay if it's the obvious one, because for me,
it's obvious. It's wear navy for Alabama. I mean,
brother,
it looks so good in late November. It just it's why does it look so good in November?
I don't know. I don't know if it's because it gets darker earlier.
Yeah,
but I mean, it's for me, and this is like a core memory of being a student. For me, it's that all navy and they've got all orange shakers just everywhere. It's that contrast between the shakers of orange and people wearing blue. For me, I'd rather do that for that in Georgia. Just throw them all in there. But I think that one looks the best. It looks the best on TV, in person. I'm with you. I can't wait for that.
Can we be honest? It's Navy because of Navy Nightmare and because of a certain phrase that was said by Alabama head coach. You know,
Well, sure.
We know why it is that way. All right. There you go. So that's your assignment. You know your assignments. You choose whether you follow it. If you don't like it, shut up and don't say anything else about it. If you like it, get excited about it and get your other friends to do it too.
That's right. It's not that big a deal. And look, I'm not going to speak for Coach Freeze and say that he doesn't have a hand in it, but to all this stuff about, can we care about winning first? Can we care about on the field performance? I'm going to venture out there and say these are totally two different departments.
I 100% agree.
You responding on the bottom of this Instagram or the bottom of this X post about saying, why don't we care about winning or having a good quarterback? You are talking to thin air, and that's it. You're making a fool of yourself, and it's not that deep, folks.
It is not that deep. It's not that deep because you're that deep in the comment section, and trust me, you are not the first person to make that comment. Just let it be. Let it be. If you ever heard the whole, if you got nothing productive to say, don't say anything at all. Let it be. Let it be navy, orange, white, or power stripe. Okay, there you go. That's your color guide for Auburn football 2025. Plenty of other football content coming up in the near future. That's episode 124. We did it. Mount Rushmore, colors, potpourri. That was all of it. As always, if you want to keep up with me, do so on X at Kyle Loomis 24. Where can they find you?
Yeah, at X whatever on X on Instagram at Austin G Scott is where you can find me. I'm sorry if my cough came across tonight. I was trying to hide it, but I've got some tickle. We've been traveling today. We came back from the beach. I'm tying this all in, I promise. Had a great War Eagle moment as I was passing somebody in a restaurant. They were wearing green. I would have had no idea, except he said it to me. I was wrangling one of my toddlers. I will not say which one. And it was one of those where he said War Eagle. I did not even look up because I'm trying to get out of the restaurant, and it was just a War Eagle. But it was like one of those. I understand what you're going through in the moment things, and so but it was a War Eagle, man. You know,
it wasn't that the War Eagle. It was a War Eagle. Like,
it was like
work hard work. You know,
work hard work. On top of work hard work, happy Mother's Day to all those Auburn moms out there.
Man, we almost messed that one up. Happy Mother's Day to all our Auburn moms. We hope you had a great one. And thank you all for tuning into episode 124. Till we talk to you again. War Eagle.
War Eagle.
All right, folks, that's the show. Thanks for hanging out with us. You can stick around for a Q&A time with me. We'll give Austin the floor before he needs to head off. I'm sure he's tired from his travels as well. So, and he's a little little sticky too.
Yeah, and just coughs and sneezels and travels and all the things. Working at a school doesn't help, but
all right. Anything final for you?
I think we're good.
All right.
We'll talk soon. War Eagle.
War Eagle. Thanks for being here, buddy. All right. That was Austin Scott, co-host of the Auburn Experience podcast. You're stuck with me for just a little bit longer here. We're sitting about 52 minutes on a recording. We started a little late tonight, so it is 10:01, but we'll stay for a little while longer to round out our usual hour time we spend together. So don't be shy. If you're here live, post some comments, some questions. It's Q&A time. Spend a little bit more time with you while you're thinking about those things. If you haven't, smash the like button, the share button, all those good things. Follow if you haven't. And let me give you some reminders about what to do, what to keep up with us here at E2C Network. If you like scheduled content like this, the next scheduled thing we have for you right now is Wednesday night, Auburn Family Night. We're going to celebrate some more Auburn graduation stuff and every other bit of Auburn news and things that you want to talk about. It's your night after all. Auburn Family Night every Wednesday night at 9 Eastern time here on YouTube, broadcasting also to Facebook and X. But make sure you come on over to the YouTube side of things. It's the more fluid thing, so you can access the call-in link, all that good stuff. There you go. Auburn Family Night this Wednesday night. We'll be back again next Sunday as well for the Auburn Experience podcast, episode 144. Always stay subscribed, following everywhere, because you don't know what type of content we might put out there for you. As we've been talking about the last several weeks, won't go back through it again, but obviously I was out of commission for about a week and a half a week ago, getting back into the swinging gear thing. So you'll start seeing some more of your regularly scheduled social media content as well. Yeah, we should be gearing up, getting back to life as normal until I take a weekend off for my birthday coming up here soon. But other than that, we are going full steam ahead into an Auburn summer, and we love to hear from you guys as often as you can be here. Okay, we'll look back through some things that you guys said. There's some comments and questions that have come in since then. It says, Tim, this is on Facebook, says, what are your thoughts on our final series with Ole Miss? They had a difficult series with Mississippi State, who we beat in the series as well. As I always ask, if you guys can be as specific as possible, because general thoughts I think are a little bit okay here. We sometimes get asked just what you're looking for on that. But look, Auburn has established itself as one of the best of the SEC, and that is really odd to say. Kind of what we were coming into this year, just being a little cautious after getting a little bit let down last year. And I say let down not as in how dare the team let us down. I just mean we were expecting a little bit more. Coaches, players, us as fans. But I think we can definitively say now that this team is one of the best in the SEC, and that is so good to hear again. And it shouldn't be surprising if you know Butch Thompson. Going on the road in the SEC is difficult. Auburn has been swept twice. The only series they haven't won has been on the road at Georgia and at Texas, two of the best of the SEC. Ole Miss, if I remember correctly, is not at the bottom, but I think they are below us. I wouldn't dismiss so much having trouble with Mississippi State, if that's kind of what you were referring to there, Tim. Giving them trouble, because anybody in the SEC can give each other trouble. It's just SEC baseball. South Carolina even showed, as bad as it's been for them apparently this year, that they can come up and catch you if you're not taking care of business. That almost happened in game 2. It took a suicide squeeze from Eric Guevara to secure that for us. So I feel pretty confident about, if you're asking about a win for the series, it wouldn't shock me for them to at least drop 1. It wouldn't be the most surprising thing in the world if they were to drop 2. Now, if we get swept, that's discouraging. It's not the end of the world. It is on the road. You don't want to see that happen, though, because you want to build that. We're looking now, what can Auburn build as far as a resume to be a top 8 seed in the tournament? So that's kind of my overall thoughts as of that. Tim also shared, we were referring to everybody, but he kind of was the guinea pig for our little rant about you can only be 4 in your Mount Rushmore of Auburn pitchers. So he shared his: Tim Hudson, Greg Olson. He QV Lowe, Casey Mize, and Joe Beckwith, and we asked him to narrow it down. He went to get to 4 minus Joe Beckwith. So he agrees with a mixture of the two of us, because he had Lowe and Mize when he brought it down, whereas Austin had Mize and I had Lowe, but we all both had Beckwith, and then Tim and Greg as well. So there you go. There's somebody that offered their thoughts already on their pitchers' final 4, Mount Rushmore. I really enjoy doing these series because if we're going to get to the ultimate Auburn Mount Rushmore, yes, it's probably obvious the majority of the ones that are going to be on there. But if you don't do the legwork to get through some of these things in sports, culture, and Auburn family stuff, then you can't really say that you've truly done your due diligence on that. And that's what we're aiming to do. It's going to take us a while to do it, but we appreciate those of you letting us take a longer approach to this type of thing and do that. Earlier, Tim also brought up co-SEC players of the week. We were talking about Guevara, talking about Rimber. We were talking about Chris Bristol Carter. I'm forgetting several others who just had great weeks. You could have SEC players of the week. It doesn't matter. There was a lot of celebration about all those things. And it looked like early on you guys were really loving that find that I had at the I keep want to say thrift store, but at the Goodwill today. There it is again. We believe it is a 1880s Auburn football pitcher. And to me, I not even 100% in saying that, because I wanted to make sure, and we're doing this on the fly here on the show right now. 1892 was apparently the first football team. I was even wrong when I said the 1880s. So that Roman numeral down there has me thinking it may not even be football. I don't know what it is. I'm going to do some more digging. I literally just found this thing today and haven't had a chance to kind of figure out exactly what's going on there. All I know is somebody gave it up, and I'm not going to let it go because it's too unique. Tim, with a final question for us. Did we lose one of our transfer portal commitments in basketball? I believe he was a former Louisville basketball player. Auburn has had nobody from Louisville commit to Auburn basketball. I've said this a lot of different places. I really don't focus on guys until they're committed, and I would highly, highly encourage all of you to do the same. I know I'm beating against the wall here when I say that. It took me a long time to get to this point. I used to obsess over recruiting and visits and rankings and stars and all that stuff. It just isn't worth it, folks. Who's going to get here is going to get here. So that is my biggest encouragement to you. Only worry about the guys here. But he's asking, was somebody commitment? Unless I missed it, and I did have a rough couple weeks ago, so I was checked out for a little bit. I could have missed it, but I believe I know who you're referring to, and there was a Louisville guy that people were that was on a visit and didn't commit to Auburn. So part of the reason I say don't obsess about him, don't worry about him. But I think, as far as I know, all our guys are locked in, ready to go, and looks like Auburn basketball is going to have an exciting 2025-26 roster for us to all, do again. And look, Bruce Pearl showed you this. He has no problem going out and pulling things together into a Final Four, not just once, but twice, maybe again very soon. All right, folks, thanks for hanging out, being part of our little family within the Auburn family. We always appreciate you being here and being part of that little family. Till we talk to you again, War Eagle.